Have you ever made a mistake that turned your entire life upside down in the best possible way? If you're enjoying this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more heartwarming content that reminds us how unexpected turns can lead to beautiful destinations. Folklore. The notification sound from his phone made Ryan freeze, coffee mug suspended halfway to his lips. So, you're back in the dating world. Interesting choice of profile pic. Ryan's stomach dropped as he recognized the name Melissa Carter, his ex-wife's sister, the woman whose dating profile he had accidentally swiped right on at 2 a.m. while half asleep, scrolling through profiles after his first attempt at online dating in 7 years. "Damn it," he muttered, setting down his coffee with enough force to splash some onto the kitchen counter. 6-year-old Emma looked up from her cereal, eyes wide. "That's a bad word, Daddy." "Sorry, sweetie. Daddy just made a mistake." An understatement of cosmic proportions. After the brutal divorce from Caitlin 3 years ago, the last thing he needed was her family thinking he was trying to make some weird play for her sister. Ryan wiped up the spilled coffee, mind racing. He could ignore the message, pretend it never happened. But Melissa would definitely tell Caitlin, and then it would become a thing during the next custody exchange. Better to address it head on. "Just finishing up, Em. 5 minutes until the bus. Okay." After Emma was safely on her way to first grade, Ryan collapsed onto the couch and stared at his phone. What could he possibly say? The truth was embarrassingly simple. In his exhausted state, Melissa's profile had appeared, and he hadn't even registered who she was before swiping right. But would she believe that? He typed and deleted 5 different responses before settling on simple honesty. "Melissa, I'm so sorry. I was half asleep scrolling through profiles last night and didn't realize it was you. Completely accidental and embarrassing. Please don't read anything into it." Her response came almost immediately. "Wow, way to make a girl feel special, Ryan." He stared at the screen, unsure if she was genuinely offended or teasing him. The 3 dots appeared, indicating she was typing again. For what it's worth, I was surprised but not upset. Actually kind of flattered. "You were always the good one." Ryan's eyebrows shot up. The good one? What did that mean? In the 3 years he'd been married to Caitlin, he and Melissa had been cordial but distant. She lived in Chicago while they were in Denver, and she only visited a few times a year for holidays. He remembered her as sharp, witted, sometimes caustic, and fiercely loyal to her sister. After the divorce, he assumed she hated him by default. The good one. He typed back before he could overthink it. "You know what I mean. The one who tried. The one who didn't give up on Emma." Ryan's throat tightened. The custody battle had been ugly. Caitlin had initially wanted full custody despite her demanding job that kept her traveling 4 days a week. It was only after months of legal battles that they settled on Ryan having primary custody, with Caitlin taking Emma every other weekend and for extended periods during school breaks. "I'm just being her dad," he replied, which is more than some people do. Anyway, no need to be embarrassed about the like. Water under the bridge. "How's Emma doing?" And just like that, they were talking. Really talking. Not the stilted, formal exchanges they'd had at family gatherings years ago, but an actual conversation. Ryan told her about Emma's recent obsession with space, how she decorated her room with glow in the dark stars and insisted on a telescope for Christmas. Melissa shared stories about her job as an architectural photographer, traveling around the country capturing buildings in perfect light. Days passed, and somehow they kept talking. What started as an awkward exchange became daily texts, then phone calls after Emma went to bed. Ryan learned that Melissa had always felt overshadowed by her perfect older sister, that she'd struggled with relationships because she kept choosing men who needed fixing. She learned about his lonely nights after Emma fell asleep, How he'd thrown himself into his graphic design business to avoid thinking about how his life hadn't turned out as planned. "I'm coming to Denver next month for a shoot," she texted one evening. "Maybe we could grab coffee, strictly as former in Laws Who Don't Hate Each Other." Ryan stared at the message for a long time. Was this crossing a line? What would Caitlin think? What would Emma think? But then again, it was just coffee, and talking to Melissa had become the highlight of his days. "I'd like that," he replied. The coffee shop was busy when Ryan arrived, 15 minutes early because anxiety had him pacing his house until he couldn't stand it anymore. He spotted her immediately, her dark hair longer than he remembered, falling in waves past her shoulders. She wore a leather jacket and jeans, a camera bag slung over her shoulder. She looked nothing like Caitlin, who favored business attire and perfectly styled blonde hair. "Ryan," she said, standing as he approached. There was an awkward moment where neither knew whether to hug or shake hands. They ended up doing a strange combination of both. "It's good to see you," he said, meaning it more than he expected to. "You too. You look good, happy." "I'm getting there," he admitted. "Some days are better than others." They settled into a corner table with their drinks. Black coffee for him, chai latte for her. The conversation flowed easier than Ryan anticipated, picking up where their calls had left off. She showed him photos from her recent projects, and he shared designs he was working on for clients. "So," she said eventually, stirring her drink. The elephant in the room. Ryan tensed. "Caitlin." "Yeah. She doesn't know I'm seeing you today. Is that?" "Okay. I don't want to cause problems between you two." Melissa's laugh held a hint of bitterness. "Our relationship has always been complicated, but I'm 34 years old. I don't need my sister's permission to have coffee with someone. Even her ex-husband, especially her ex-husband." She met his eyes directly. "Look, Ryan, I've always liked you. I thought Caitlin was lucky to have found someone so devoted, so willing to work through problems. When she told me she was leaving, I was disappointed in her." Ryan shifted uncomfortably. "It takes two to break a marriage. I wasn't perfect. No one is. But some people run at the first sign of difficulty. Others stay and fight." She shrugged. "Anyway, ancient history. Tell me about Emma's science fair project." By the time they parted ways 3 hours later, something had shifted between them. Ryan couldn't name it exactly, a possibility, perhaps. A door cracked open that he hadn't known existed. "I'm here for another 4 days," Melissa said as they stood outside the coffee shop. "Maybe we could do dinner. I'd love to see Emma if that's not too weird." It should have felt weird. It should have felt wrong. But somehow, it didn't. She'd like that. She always thought you were the cool aunt with the interesting job. Melissa's smile lit up her entire face. Tomorrow night, Ryan agreed. He spent the next day in a state of nervous anticipation. Was this a date? No, Emma would be there. But it felt significant nonetheless. He cleaned the house thoroughly, then decided to cook rather than order in. Emma was excited about seeing her aunt, peppering Ryan with questions about why Melissa was visiting and whether she'd brought presents. "She's here for work, sweetie, and I don't know about presents. Let's not expect any, okay?" When the doorbell rang, Emma raced to answer it, Ryan close behind. Melissa stood on the porch holding a small gift bag and a bottle of wine. "Aunt Melissa!" Emma launched herself forward for a hug. "Hey, space girl! Your dad tells me you're going to be an astronaut now. Or maybe an astronomer. I haven't decided yet." Melissa laughed, handing Emma the gift bag. "Well, this might help with either career path." Inside was a beautifully illustrated book about women in space exploration and a small meteorite fragment in a display case. Emma's eyes widened to saucers, a real space rock, from actual outer space, complete with certificate of authenticity. Melissa confirmed. I shot a feature on a museum curator who specializes in meteorites. When I told him about my space-obsessed niece, he helped me find this piece. Emma clutched the display case reverently. This is the coolest present ever. Over dinner, Ryan watched the easy rapport between Melissa and Emma, the way his daughter opened up about school and friends in a way she rarely did with other adults. There was no awkwardness, no sense that this arrangement was unusual. It felt right. After Emma went to bed, Ryan and Melissa sat on the back deck with glasses of wine, a comfortable silence between them. "Thank you for tonight," he said finally. "Emma had a great time. So did I. She's amazing, Ryan. You're doing a wonderful job with her." "I'm trying. Some days I feel completely out of my depth." "That's parenting, from what I understand. Constant improvisation and hoping you don't mess up too badly." He laughed. "Pretty much." Melissa turned to face him, her expression serious. "Can I ask you something personal?" "Sure. Are you happy?" "I mean, beyond the day-to-day stuff with Emma and work. In yourself." The question caught him off guard. Was he happy? He had moments of contentment, of joy even, but happiness as a state of being. "I'm getting there," he said finally. "For a long time after the divorce, I was just surviving, going through the motions for Emma's sake. But lately, I've started to feel like myself again. Or maybe a new version of myself." She nodded, seeming to understand exactly what he meant. "It takes time. After my engagement ended last year, I thought I'd never feel normal again. But eventually, you start building something new from the pieces." "You were engaged." "I didn't know. It was brief. 4 months. He was an architect I met on a shoot. Charming, brilliant, and completely unable to commit despite the ring on my finger. Classic Melissa mistake." "I'm sorry," she shrugged. "Don't be. It taught me what I don't want. What I won't accept anymore." She took a sip of wine. "What about you? Any dating disasters since the divorce?" "Hardly any dating at all," Ryan admitted. "A few first dates that went nowhere. It's hard with Emma with work. And honestly, I wasn't ready. And now." Their eyes met, and the air between them seemed to charge with possibility. "Now I think I might be," he said quietly. The rest of Melissa's stay in Denver passed in a blur of shared meals, long conversations, and an increasingly undeniable attraction. They took Emma to the Science Museum, laughing together at her endless questions and enthusiasm. They watched movies after she went to bed, sitting closer each night until Melissa's head rested on Ryan's shoulder, his arm around her. They didn't kiss. Not yet. Both were acutely aware of the complications, the potential fallout. But on her last night in town, as they stood at her hotel room door saying goodbye, the tension was almost unbearable. "I don't know what this is," Ryan said, gesturing between them. "But I know I don't want it to end when you leave tomorrow." "Neither do I," she admitted. "But Ryan, we need to be realistic. I live in Chicago. You're here. There's Emma to consider. And Caitlin." "I know. It's complicated." "Very." She reached up to touch his face, her fingers light against his cheek. "But maybe worth figuring out." He covered her hand with his. "Definitely worth figuring out, Dow." The next morning, he drove her to the airport, Emma chattering in the back seat about when Aunt Melissa would visit next. At the departure drop-off, Melissa hugged Emma tightly, promising to video chat soon about her science project. Then she turned to Ryan. "This isn't goodbye," she said firmly. "It's just, see you soon, he echoed, allowing himself to pull her into a hug that lasted a beat longer than strictly appropriate for former in-laws. As he watched her walk into the terminal, Emma slipped her small hand into his. "I like Aunt Melissa," she said simply. "She makes you smile the real smile." "The real smile." "Yeah. Not the one you do when you're pretending to be happy. The one that makes your eyes crinkly." Out of the mouths of babes, Ryan thought, realizing his daughter saw far more than he gave her credit for. The next few weeks were filled with daily texts, nightly phone calls, and weekend video chats that often included Emma. They were building something, carefully, thoughtfully, across the distance. Ryan found himself laughing more, sleeping better, looking forward rather than back. Then came the text that changed everything. "Caitlin knows. She's furious. Called me a backstabbing bitch and worse. Said she's going to fight for full custody of Emma." Ryan's blood ran cold. He'd known this moment would come eventually, had been dreading it, but somehow thought they'd have more time to figure things out before facing this particular storm. "I'm so sorry," he texted back. "This isn't your fault. We haven't done anything wrong. Haven't we? I'm falling for my sister's ex-husband, Ryan. In what world is that not crossing a line? Falling for." The words made his heart race despite the circumstances. "I'm falling for you too," he wrote. "And yes, it's complicated. But Caitlin and I have been over for years. We both deserve a chance at happiness. She doesn't see it that way. She says I've always been jealous of her, always wanted what she had. That this proves it." Ryan ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "That's ridiculous. You're nothing alike. What we have has nothing to do with her. Doesn't it? Would we have ever met if you hadn't married her?" The question hit him hard. Was this all some cosmic accident? A random collision of lives that should never have intersected? Or was there something more to it? A connection that might have found its way regardless of the path? "I don't know," he admitted. "But I know how I feel now, and I know it's real." There was a long pause before her next message appeared. "I need some time to think, Ryan. This is all happening so fast, and now with Caitlin threatening custody. I don't want to be the reason Emma gets hurt in all this." His heart sank. "I understand. Take whatever time you need." Days passed with no communication. Ryan moved through his routines mechanically, getting Emma to school, working on client projects, making dinner, helping with homework. But inside, he felt hollow. He'd only just found this unexpected connection, and now it seemed to be slipping away. A week later, his lawyer called. Caitlin had indeed filed for a custody modification, claiming that Ryan's inappropriate relationship with her sister was creating an unhealthy environment for Emma. The hearing was set for the following month. That night, after Emma was asleep, Ryan finally broke down, sitting alone in his kitchen. He let the tears come, for the mess his life had become, for the potential pain Emma might face, for the loss of something beautiful before it had really begun. His phone buzzed with a text notification. "Melissa. Are you awake?" His heart jumped. "Yes. Can I call you?" Seconds later, his phone rang. Her voice was thick, as though she too had been crying. "I'm sorry I disappeared," she said. "I needed to figure some things out. And did you?" "Yes." She took a deep breath. "I talked to Caitlin today. Really talked to her, for the first time in years maybe. It was awful and painful and necessary." "What happened?" "I told her the truth. That what's happening between you and me isn't about her. That it took me by surprise too. That I never intended to fall for you, but I have. And that threatening Emma's stability out of spite isn't the answer." Ryan closed his eyes, overwhelmed. How did she take it? About as well as you'd expect at first. There was yelling, accusations. Old wounds reopened. But then, something shifted. She admitted that she's been struggling, that seeing you move on, especially with me, made her question her choices. "She's not happy, Ryan." "I'm sorry to hear that," he said, and meant it. Despite everything, he didn't wish Caitlin ill. "She's going to withdraw the custody modification," Melissa continued. "She said she needs time, but she doesn't want to put Emma through a court battle." Relief flooded through him. "Thank you for talking to her, for everything." "There's more," she said, her voice steadier now. "I've been offered a position in Denver. A photography studio downtown wants me to head their architectural division. I was approached months ago, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to leave Chicago. Now, I have a reason to consider it." Ryan's heart pounded. "Are you saying?" "I'm saying I want to try, Ryan. Really try. Not just long-distance phone calls and occasional visits. I want to see if what we're feeling is real, if it can grow into something lasting. But I need to know you're sure that this isn't just about convenience or loneliness or rebellion against your past. It's none of those things," he said firmly. "When I'm with you, I feel like myself again. Not Ryan, the ex-husband, or Ryan, the single dad, just Ryan, the person I forgot I could be." Her soft laugh warmed him through the phone. "That's a good answer. When would you move?" "The position starts in 2 months. I'd need to find a place, wrap things up here." 2 months, he repeated, already counting the days. "Too long. Too long," he agreed. "But worth the wait." The next 8 weeks passed in a blur of planning, hoping, and cautious optimism. Ryan told Emma that Aunt Melissa might be moving to Denver for work, carefully gauging her reaction. To his relief, she was thrilled at the prospect of regular science museum trips and stargazing sessions with her favorite aunt. Caitlin's reaction was more measured. After her initial anger subsided, she'd retreated into a cool politeness during custody exchanges. She didn't mention Melissa, and Ryan didn't push. Time would have to heal those particular wounds. The day Melissa arrived in Denver with her U-Haul and overstuffed SUV, Ryan and Emma waited at her new apartment with welcome signs and takeout from her favorite restaurant. As she walked through the door, exhausted from the drive but beaming at the sight of them, Ryan knew with absolute certainty that this accidental connection was the best mistake he'd ever made. "Welcome home," he said, pulling her into an embrace that felt like the beginning of something extraordinary. "Home," she repeated against his shoulder. "I like the sound of that." That night, after helping Melissa unpack the essentials and getting Emma to bed, they finally shared their first kiss on Melissa's half-assembled couch, surrounded by moving boxes and possibility. "I can't believe a dating app mistake led to this," she murmured against his lips. "Best technical error of my life," he agreed. 6 months later, as they sat on the porch swing of Ryan's house, now their house, since Melissa had moved in the previous month, watching Emma set up her telescope for a meteor shower, Ryan reached for Melissa's hand. "I've been thinking," he said quietly. "Dangerous," she teased, squeezing his fingers. "What if that dating app swipe wasn't an accident at all? What if it was the universe's way of correcting a mistake?" She turned to face him, eyebrow raised. "Getting philosophical in your old age? Maybe," he smiled. "Or maybe I'm just grateful that algorithms and tired thumbs brought me to you." "Brought us to each other," she corrected, leaning her head on his shoulder as Emma called excitedly about the first shooting star of the night. Later that evening, with Emma finally asleep after the excitement of staying up past midnight, Ryan and Melissa stood in the kitchen, sharing the last of a bottle of wine. "I have something for you," he said, suddenly nervous. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Melissa's eyes widened. "Ryan? It's not what you think," he said quickly, opening the box to reveal not a ring, but a delicate silver pendant in the shape of a constellation. "Not yet, anyway. We agreed to take this slowly, to be sure, but I wanted you to have something that reminds you of how we found each other. Looking up at the same stars from different cities, somehow finding our way to the same point." Tears filled her eyes as she lifted the necklace from the box. "It's beautiful. It's Lyra," he explained. "The constellation that contains Vega, one of the stars of the summer triangle. Emma helped me pick it. She said it was appropriate because in mythology, Lyra was the harp of Orpheus, who could charm anyone with his music. She said you charmed us both from the first moment." "Smart kid," Melissa whispered, turning so Ryan could fasten the necklace around her neck. She gets it from her aunt," he said, pressing a kiss to Melissa's shoulder. Melissa turned in his arms, her expression serious. "I want you to know something. I never expected this to happen. I never looked at you that way when you were with Caitlin. This isn't some long, harbored secret desire or jealousy. It's something entirely new, something that belongs just to us." "I know," he said simply, because he did. What they had built together over the past 8 months was uniquely theirs, complicated in its origins, perhaps, but pure in its execution. They had navigated family tensions, distance, and uncertainty to arrive at this moment of quiet certainty in his kitchen. "I love you," she said, the words still new enough between them to carry weight and wonder. "Not because of who you were to my sister, but because of who you are to me. The man who makes me laugh, who challenges me, who sees me clearly." "I love you too," he replied, the words feeling right, necessary, "for exactly who you are. My accidental perfect match." 1 year to the day after Ryan's fateful late-night dating app scroll, they gathered their closest friends and family, including, remarkably, Caitlin, who had found her own path to healing and a new relationship in the backyard of their home, under a canopy of stars and string lights, with Emma proudly serving as both flower girl and ring bearer. Ryan and Melissa exchanged vows that acknowledged their unusual beginning, but focused on their intentional future. "Sometimes life's greatest gifts come disguised as mistakes," Ryan said, holding Melissa's hands in his. "A tired thumb swipe that changed everything. But loving you has been the most deliberate choice I've ever made." Melissa smiled through happy tears. "From so, you're back in the dating world, to so, you're the love of my life. What a journey it's been." As they sealed their vows with a kiss, Emma cheered the loudest, her young heart understanding what some adults never grasp, that families come in all forms, that love finds its way through the most unexpected channels, and that sometimes the best stories begin with a simple mistake. Life has a funny way of bringing the right people into our lives at exactly the right moment, even when it seems like a cosmic error. If this story touched your heart or reminded you of your own unexpected connections, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more stories that celebrate the beautiful messiness of human relationships. Remember, not all mistakes are truly mistakes. Sometimes they're just the universe's way of setting us on the path we were always meant to find.